And I mean, no job is too small. Cedar Bluff Plumbing just voted #1 by City View magazine because multiple plumbing experts are on call to serve all your plumbing needs. Chances are there'll be a plumber in your area when you call, and they won't send some salesman to your house. You're going to get a high character, trustworthy, highly trained plumber who will serve you. Not like some of these guys that look like they came off the set of America's Most Wanted. Cedar Bluff Plumbing is Basilio tested and approved, and will go the extra mile for you because Chucky Mack is a servant of the people and my consigliere to the throne, celebrating over 32 years of serving living volunteers. Cedar Bluff Plumbing. Call 588-4448. That's 588-4448. Cedar Bluff Plumbing.
Out-of-town law firms have been swarming into East Tennessee lately. From Memphis, Chattanooga, and Birmingham, they've stormed into the area. Wouldn't you rather do business with a local firm? You know, a true neighbor. Marcos Garza and the pros at the Garza Law Firm are just that. There are neighbors and friends that support local causes year-round. The Garza Law Firm works to serve you professionally on criminal matters, injuries and accident matters, and Social Security and disability filings. The Garza Law Firm is here for you at garzalaw.com. The Garza Law Firm. Let us help.
Marcos Garza, the Garza Law Firm. It helps so many people. He fires me up, focuses me, and prepares me to be better at what I do each and every day. I love Marcos. Shout out to Marcos and everybody there. One of the reasons we got back in U2's good graces, and several thousand people have found the program through that venue, is due to the work of Marcos Garza, because I was a bad boy on U2 all those years ago, but not anymore. I'm not a bad. I got Bono loves me now, and The Edge loves me, and Larry Mullen and Adam Clayton, they all love me. So Mr. Copeland from IRS Records loves me. Everybody loves us now. The great William Pattison and the Playbook are on the way next. We're going to continue. It's going to be a high noon overdrive overtime. That was a quick couple of hours we just spent together. What a blessing it's been. And here is the Playbook.
You're listening to FM 105.7 and AM 1340, WKGN Knoxville, and W289CU Knoxville. Fan Run Radio.
It's high.
It's preseason top 25. I did mine yesterday with Brett, and obviously we had the coaches poll released last week. We've still got about 6 days to go until the AP poll drops. That's next Monday. But another glance at where the Vols stack up amongst the country, and we'll wrap it up with our final thoughts. But plenty to cover on a Tuesday, so happy you're here. If you're on that YouTube live stream, make sure to like and subscribe so you never miss any Fan Run content. And before we get into the rest of the show, let's welcome in the rest of the crew, beginning with Brett. Brett, how are you on this Tuesday?
Yeah, doing well. Just didn't have much going on last night. Little afternoon soccer practice, but other than that, just a relaxed day. Not much on the television these days, unless you were into the Little League World Series stuff. But just ready for football, I guess, at this point. And also my Premier League soccer kicks off in about 10 days, so a lot going on for me this fall. So looking forward to it all. And today's show should be a good one.
Good deal, Connor. Bumped into Connor this morning.
Hey, we were talking about
Long time no see.
Long time no see. All of a sudden, this guy comes up and he said, "What's up?" And I turn around and said, "Connor, what up?" So
we got double duty on
I know.
field. It's awesome.
I know. Yeah. 2 sets of eyes today. Connor, how are you? How'd you enjoy practice this morning?
It was fun. I had no idea where to go. Fortunately, I got pointed in the right direction. I just followed the pack, day one. But it was good. A little tired. I'm powered by coffee right now. I started my morning at 4:45 Central because I had to drive in from Cookville this morning. But you know what? The opportunity presented itself, and I'll be there tomorrow. But it was cool to see what they were working on. Just kind of see what they were doing. We didn't see much else today because there were some specific things that they wanted to work on, kind of behind the scenes a little bit. But just kind of you see some things that stand out, and some new guys that kind of impress you a little bit, and then you get a little bit of glimpse into. It's not much. I think it's me and Brett were talking about this, probably a little bit surface level stuff with the quarterbacks, and then they do everything else kind of behind the scenes. But it was just good to see what they were doing, and then just get a taste of what kind of each guy's working through, how they're progressing, and then what they kind of look like. So it was a not much to take away in terms of like any like super deep, but I mean it was just good to see and be out there amongst everybody else, just kind of watching along and seeing what everybody's progressing through.
Yeah, most certainly. We'll get into those takeaways here.
Something I didn't think about when he was talking about was the fact that you guys actually hear the banter, like it's kind of the jokester a little bit. Like he was saying how Ori Williams is a little bit like a playful big dude or something.
He's a good dude. Yeah. He's a funny dude.
I mean, I know they're serious about their business, but they got a softer banter, kind of serious vibe to them as well.
I think the way I explained it, kind of like when we were talking before the show started, was just kind of those pillow jabs. He and David are like, I think he's telling David, "I'm coming for your job." Talk about if he's going to take that left tackle, but But they have a good relationship, and they both kind of talked about it too, and their availabilities. I kind of stuck around for those, and I mean, they seem to have like a really
makes you feeling better about the
offensive
line.
Yeah. They seem to have a real rock solid relationship, and everybody seems pointed in the right direction, and there's nothing that they seem to have to like. It doesn't seem that any of that was like PR. It just all felt like very natural. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, well, we'll get into those takeaways here in just a second. A reminder real quick, Knoxville Smokies night on Thursday. Fan Run night at the Smokies, I should say. Fan Run night at the Smokies. Covenant Health Park, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Hope to see you there. Continue to keep it locked in on Fan Run Radio this week. We'll be giving out some tickets and ticket giveaways, I should say. But really looking forward to that. Half-price draft beers, $10 tickets for students that flash a valid student ID. So keep that on your calendar, and it's always going to be a good time, one of my favorite events that we do here at Fan Run Radio. But we'll get into it. Our first things first topic going to be those fall camp takeaways from today. As Connor mentioned, just 2 segments of practice that we were able to see this morning, and spent a good bit of time with the offensive line because Glenn Ellerby spoke to us after practice, and I didn't stay for the player availability, but also David Sanders, Wendell Moy, those guys talking about their group. And in terms of the offensive line, I think the big question is, who is starting as a group? Who are those 5 guys? I think you feel comfortable with David Sanders, Wendell Moy, Sam Pendleton, Jesse Perry. All those guys are returning players. But then you've got the Ori Williams, Donovan Haslam, and Sham Umarov, who are all kind of competing at that spot. All have played in some capacity. I think Ori Williams out of the group has the lesser of the experience, but at 6'8", he's a big guy and can move around. And again, he didn't start playing football until later in his high school career. He was a basketball player at 6'8". It adds up, but he's making that adjustment to football still. But that's something that he has continued to work on, and he transferred him from LSU. The Tigers recruited him as kind of a steal in that recruiting class, and I kind of looked at it the same way in the transfer portal class for Tennessee, a little bit of a steal, because if you can develop him, he can be a really impactful player. For Haslam, he's a big, violent guy. That's what Coach Ellerby said after practice today, and he comes in with a lot of experience. He started off his career at Austin Peay. Last season played at West Virginia, and he played right guard, right tackle, and left guard. He played 3 different spots, so he's versatile, and where you can move him around, I think that gives him a lot of benefit in this competition. Then Sham Umarov, you saw a lot of him last season due to the injury of David Sanders. So those 3 guys is kind of what I'm keying in on. Obviously, Gabriel Osinda, he sticks out to me just because of his sheer size, but he's still an underclassman, still has to work through the technique and all of that. Not going to necessarily see the field this season. But even at center, Nick Moore has gotten a lot of praise. And that's a guy they call Big Pooh, apparently from the Mike Keith show. Big Pooh is what they call him, or something like that. Pooh, maybe just Pooh. But anyway, that's a guy that has been impressive as well. I don't know if he's going to start over Sam Pendleton, who returns at center as a starting guy from last season. But you even got some guys that are rivaling last season's starters. And I think that speaks volumes to the type of depth this team has. And Connor discussed it earlier, and I'll kind of weigh in on it myself because, David Sanders is a younger guy, and we talked about this last week, Brett, but he has been very vocal and active in coaching these guys up. Kamari Blair spoke about it last week, and I think this is a tight-knit group, a group that has a lot of camaraderie even in practice. I know it's, pushing pads and sweat dripping everywhere. It's a tough battlefield-like environment, but these guys are pretty relaxed at the same time, and I think that speaks volumes to the type of culture that this offensive line has, despite so many older players mixed in with some underclassmen. So that was great. The quarterbacks, that's what everyone wants to hear about. That's what everyone wants to talk about. Josh Heupel has been very specific in what we are allowed to see and not allowed to see. But this morning we got to watch some red zone drills, and my takeaway from both GMAC and Faison, they both had their ups and downs. I thought Faison had a couple of really inaccurate throws, and I thought GMAC kind of second-guessed himself and waited in the pocket too long. And these were against air. Mm-hmm. And again, this stuff is correctable, but Josh Heupel said last week, you don't want to see the same guy make the same mistake twice. And some of this stuff we're starting to see twice. And I'm not saying that it's going to be an end-all, be-all situation, that Tennessee doesn't have a quarterback or anything like that, but you're trying to see steady improvements. And both guys had some great throws, but both guys had their fair share of miscues. So at this point in time, I don't think it's either or. And as I stated yesterday, I don't think anyone's won the job at this point in time, but you're trying to see who is making the least amount of mistakes as the weeks go on. Both guys had a couple of throws that were off, but a bunch of throws were great, on the money. And, Faison's got a lot of zip out of his pocket or out of his arm. And I thought GMAC in the short yardage red zone looks did as well. I didn't think the lofted passes were there. But again, both guys had a couple of misses. It's just how it goes. Now, there's not a whole lot you can take away from about 15 throws a guy, but at least that's what we got to watch today. So what I've seen online, especially from some more Twitter people that aren't necessarily there and kind of decipher stats and give takeaways from message boards and report it as their own, they kind of phrase it in a way though, oh, Faison was much better today, or oh, GMAC was much better today. From the moment we got to see him for about 5 minutes, there wasn't one guy that was head over heels better than the other. So my advice would be just vary your expectations for who you're getting your information from. Because, and again, it's no offense to any of these people, but there are a lot of guys on Twitter that are just saying, oh, this guy did this, oh, this guy did that, or this guy's not available. I mean, a lot of that is their own interpretation of someone else's opinion that was there. So just level those expectations. But again, both guys had a couple of good throws. Both guys had a couple of misses. You're just trying to see who continues to progress the most over the course of the week. But overall, that's about all I can provide. But I think that the offensive line does look big, does look beefy, and that's as advertised for a group that does return 4 starters. And with a young quarterback, if you've got offensive linemen that can give you time, then you're going to have more success because of that. If you've got an offensive line that can open up a hole for Deshaun Bishop, a 1,000-yard returning rusher, that will give you more confidence and more pace within your offense to ease in a young quarterback into the system or ease in a young quarterback into some more difficult throws. So I think it all comes back to the offensive line, and you've got that set up, and Glenn Ellerby believes this is one of the deepest groups he's had and one of the furthest developed units that he's had since arriving at Tennessee. So some good notes from the offensive line today. Connor, I know you touched on it just a bit ago, but anything specific that stuck out to you on the offensive line or elsewhere?
For me, what I kind of noticed a little bit was, I mean, you just kind of see like the power of like Ori and the power of David. I thought they kind of stood out a little bit. I think it's a little bit more notable with Ori. The only thing is just a matter of how quickly can he, how important are these reps, and for him it's just a matter of consistently putting these days in and stringing these days together. One other thing that he did mention as well in his his player availability as well that I want to point out with Ori, he actually mentioned that he's been playing football more since he was 3, and then he said that basketball actually came second to him. So football for him has always been the first love. So, but in any case, still didn't start as much last year as Haslam. So to me, I think in terms of the comfortability and the guy, I mean, and you also heard it as well from Glenn Ellerby, the way Haslam is violent, he's physical, the experience and the versatility that he's got. So I think Haslam is certainly a guy that I think is probably a little bit ahead right now, but you just kind of see the stature with Ori. And I thought he had some powerful finish to the drills that we saw alongside David Sanders. The other thing too, what I kind of saw with the quarterbacks a little bit, I thought Faison, and maybe you can throw some input as well on what you saw. I thought Faison was a little bit more inaccurate over the middle. I think just kind of missing high and away, which that's the dangerous throw. But then I saw some of the work that he put in. I think he was working with TK in a little bit, but it was towards the sidelines and the outs and outside the numbers where I thought he looked comfortable and where he was throwing his most accurate ball. So I think that's just something to think about and just something for him to work on. But you just kind of see a little bit the zip that he has on his ball versus George. George, I think, was maybe a little bit more accurate over the middle, but it just felt like his floated as well. So the big thing is just, again, just kind of working out those inconsistencies and, separating yourself with those details. And, ultimately I think those details, I think, are going to matter in what Josh Heupel inevitably decides to do and who he decides to start in the quarterback situation.
Well, I think through a week, the traits of each guy are pretty solidified, at least in terms of what they're bringing to the table. For Faison, for a true freshman, he is pretty filled out, and not a lot of guys come in that way, so that's a good trait. And then I think he gives you a little bit more athleticism with his legs compared to George McIntyre. But, in terms of the throwing, which is what we're seeing a lot of, I think Faison has more touch on it, more zip, and it comes out a lot quicker. And then in the SEC, that's important because if you got to hit your receiver, there's a small window frame that you're able to get it across the middle, whether it be a linebacker or you're trying to hit them on an out route. Those DBs are pretty quick. They can hop in front of the route. So that's important, and I think Faison beats out GMAC in that fashion. Now, for GMAC, he's got an extra year in this system. That's the feather in his cap. He's a little bit taller in terms of the frame, so he's able to maybe see down the field a little bit better, see over the line of scrimmage a little bit better, but does not have as much zip on it coming out of the pocket. I think some of the more intermediate stuff in front of him was better, but when he's forced to make throws on the outside or maybe a little bit further down the field, it's not as quick. But I do think he's more accurate at this point in time. So that's a decision that Josh Heupel's going to have to decide between. Do you want more zip? Do you want a quicker delivery? Or do you want a more accurate delivery? And I think there are pluses and minuses both ways. I think the pluses are that it gets out quicker. You're able to, at least put in your receiver's hands in a faster timing. But if it's not as accurate, they might have to slow down. They might have to go get in front of it. Or if it's tight coverage, could end up being intercepted. So there are a lot of different ways to look at it. I would still consider Faison Brandon the favorite at this point in time. It might not be a huge favorite like it's maybe been put out to be by some national pundits over the summer, but I would still place him as the favorite. And I think both guys are going to have opportunities. I'm not saying the job is done. GMAC's going to have his opportunities, but I'd like to see both of them continue to improve on some of these things that we've been critiquing, and this is now entering the second week of it. I don't know if we're going to see a massive change by the end of this week, but at the end of the day, that's what Josh Heupel's looking for. Guys not making the same mistake twice, and the characteristics of both quarterbacks have kind of continued or lingering in now to the second week of fall camp. Brett, for you, any takeaways, any thoughts, any questions from today?
No, I just, I'm about ready to just see full videos of these quarterbacks, to be honest. I think that's the big thing. I mean, we know these guys are big, fast, and physical, and it's great seeing these offensive linemen hit the pads and stuff. But, I want to just see the videos of the guys throwing. I think that's the number one question for everybody and for me. And you guys are seeing a little bit. But, yeah, I mean, that's ultimately the question. And, as we're getting closer to time, yeah, you want to know who your 5 offensive linemen are. That's huge. But I think I'm to the point where I feel comfortable in a solid 5 out of any of those guys you've been mentioning. And, it might be a scenario where, Jesse Perry doesn't start. It could be Ori Williams and Haslam and stuff like that. So, it is a little worrisome that they are, the throws are missing maybe as poorly as you guys are talking about on air, that, what happens in coverages and different things like that. And, I know there's been some tape of them throwing on coverage. I mean, it's probably not all air, but yeah, I mean, that's just the number one question. And before long, he's going to close practice altogether, or you guys aren't going to be able to see anything. So it's really going to be a guessing game of where it's going to go. But again, if it's a tied battle, as a lot of people are saying with Faison, you're going to go with the guy with the higher ceiling, and that will ultimately be, Faison Brandon. There's not much that George can do to combat that and things like that. The size, the speed, and things like that, he's not going to have over Faison, and he's never had it. So that's where the difference is ultimately probably going to come down to, and it'll probably end up being Faison for that reason, and things like that. So, but I still see a scenario. I think both will play against Furman, and maybe he makes a decision after that. So, who really knows? But the battles are going to continue for multiple positions this summer.
Well, look, I've said it multiple times. I think at the end of the day, this is a season where you have to find your quarterback for 2027. That's a season where Josh Heupel is going to have a lot of expectations, national championships, college football playoffs. Those will all be near expectations. I think the CFP will be the expectation. Everything else after that is more collateral, but still, you've got to guide this season so that you're not having to go through the same thing next offseason and figure out who your guy is going to be.
Be in the portal pretty quick.
Well, yes, most certainly. And I think both guys, are going to have their fair share against Furman, as I've stated, both of which I believe will at least get a quarter or a half or the same amount of snaps, whatever it may be. Georgia Tech is ultimately when that starter will be named. And even if a guy trots out against Furman as the starter, I'm not considering that the starter heading into week 2, because if things go a certain way in that Furman game, then I think you'll have your answer. But regardless, this season is so important, and this camp right now is so important because you're trying to find the guy that's going to get the first audition to win the job for 2027 in addition to this year. So that's going to be very important. And you mentioned the offensive line. I think Jesse Perry still starts. I think it's more of a battle between Ori Williams and Donovan Haslam because Ellerby, at the end of the day, I think is going to want to.
But do you think Perry? I guess the question is, what is Perry better at guard than Haslam? Is he a better tackle than Ori Williams? That's the question you have to ask yourself.
And that was a question asked to Ellerby today. Do you want to put your best 5 out there, like your best 5 players, or do you want to put your best 5 guys at that specific position?
Yeah.
And I think he leans more towards the best 5 guys. Period.
Okay.
Let's put them in a situation where even it might not be your favorite spot or your preferred spot, but you're a big enough guy and have the technique down enough to where we are confident in putting you at a left guard or right guard, whatever it may be, right? So I think it's going to be the best 5 guys. Yeah. I continue to think it's Donovan Haslam, even though Ori Williams is intriguing with his size. I just think Haslam has more experience. And when the traits from your specific coach are violent and rough and tough and all that speaks to a guy that's playing SEC football.
Yeah.
When you go up against Georgia and Alabama and Texas, those defensive lines are violent and physical. You need guys to combat that. While Haslam is only at 6'3" compared to Ori Williams at 6'8", the size differential is there, but I like a guy that's physical, and I think sometimes those violent physical players can outweigh or even if a guy's taller than them, that can cancel out because of how physical you are on the line of scrimmage, and ultimately that's SEC football.
Well, the other thing too that's valuable is the I think the positional flexibility, because I think Haslam he can play inside or he can go to the outside, or he's more like the outside. But with Jesse, he can also play guarding, go tackle, and a few of those guys are pretty similar in that regard. So I think it's valuable, and it kind of helps trying to figure out that situation, especially if you have to shuffle guys around, especially because, at some point someone's going to have to sub in because of injury, or someone's going to miss a game with injury, and so on and so forth. So I think that kind of helps, and they're going to have real good depth. It's just a question of figuring out who that 5th guy is. Haslam, to me, I think again, still is that favorite just because of the violence and the way Ellerby, and we'll touch on this a little bit later too. But I think you also I saw a little bit of like why Ori Williams is such an intriguing guy, just the way he finished the drills that they were doing this morning that we saw. I thought that there's a lot of power there to me. So I think if he has to come in or in a pinch or they do give him a few games to start, I think he'd fit in fine, especially if he was at tackle.
I'm going to say this, and it might sound like a ridiculous comparison, but do you guys remember Jeremiah Smith heading into last season as a true sophomore?
Yeah.
Like how imposing and physical he was despite his age. I know everyone
he showed it. Yeah.
I know everyone talks about this kid, but David Sanders is almost like a comparable Jeremiah Smith in his own position. On the offensive line, David Sanders, he just sticks out. Sticks out. That is a first-round pick in the NFL draft if I've ever seen one. And you hope he's able to stay healthy and make it to that point unblemished. But my golly, for a true sophomore to stick out the way he does and his mobility and just the way he is just so strong and able to push guys around. I know it's practice and they're just banging up against pads, but man, he's got some just strength and power in those legs.
Yeah.
It might be a crazy comparison, but Jeremiah Smith last year, what a hell of an athlete he is. David Sanders,
considering the edges that are coming off the right side,
yeah,
for Texas with Simmons and Dylan Stewart, you thank the Lord above that you have a guy like David Sanders with that talent. Now, he hasn't done it in the college level yet. We've yet to see him at left tackle, but you have all the confidence in the world that guy practices what he preaches, and he's going to be really good.
Well, and the other thing too that you just noticed, like just in the availability, right? Like everybody talks about him being, the leader and the way he works with the guys, but it's always like, yes, sir, to a question, yes, ma'am, to a question. Like first class human being. You don't have to think twice about it. Like it's not just that you see and feel the leadership like on the field and on the sideline, but like even the way he speaks with the press, it's just the makeup is just a first class human being and like a first round pick that 32 GMs in the league will easily hear about, and probably even more so. The first thing it's not going to be the physicality, it's not going to be it's not going to be the physical traits or like the tape. It's going to be the leadership and the respect that he has with the people around him and the people he comes into contact with. I mean, that's just, you couldn't ask for a better person to be stepping into that role too.
Most certainly. David speaks on the YouTube chat. Haslam will be huge in the run game, and he goes, Mr. Pattison, we are easily 9 linemen deep, and I would agree.
Yeah,
I think off the top of my head, I think 8. But I guess if you throw in more, that's 9. And Ellerby would agree with you. Ellerby's.
I hate to rehash it, but you're one position away from being a college football playoff team. The way you guys talk after practices, what Derek Owens has done, bringing in Knowles and not to hit on a quarterback is about as frustrating as I can be. And I don't want to rehash it because we're in this position and this is what it's going to be but I hate talking about 2027. That's just unacceptable for me. So but it's just so frustrating to know you are so talented across this roster and to be at the most key position. It's crazy. It's just crazy to me. And it's so frustrating. It really is. In this day and age, to be Tennessee football and to be lacking at a quarterback position.
Well,
as talented as he might be.
And I still think, the talent will still be there next year because,
stop.
But they talk about Gabriel Ascenda too.
Yes, but he's got David Sanders in front of him. We're not asking him to play this year.
Yeah.
There's no reason for Faison Brandon, as talented as he might be, and it might be good in the long run, but this is a year-to-year sport now. This isn't.
I would agree with that.
You let opposing coach go in your airport, and I don't want to rehash what the guy said on the drive yesterday because I couldn't agree more. He's like, Kiffin walked up in here and stole him out of your airport and said, "You're coming to play at LSU." You can't let those things happen. It's infuriating to me.
Well, in the case of Leavitt, I think ultimately it came down to his decision. I mean, obviously, he chose LSU, but his family was big on Tennessee.
And I'm not saying it has to be Leavitt,
I know. I'm just saying in that specific example, his family wanted him to come to Tennessee. He ends up choosing LSU. But at the end of the day, if you want a guy, you're going to have to pull out the checkbook for it. And my understanding was there was kind of a cap and a level they were not willing to go to for Leavitt. So.
I know. I don't mean to get on, but it's just like you're reading these reports and you're seeing and the defense hasn't played yet. Don't get me wrong.
I love Sam Leavitt.
Yes, I know. But and you said the same thing during the portal. You love Faison and coming into but you knew we needed. We knew what we had coming back.
Well, it is a year-to-year sport, and whether that is for the better or not, it is what it is, especially with Indiana doing what they did last season. And as we were discussing yesterday in the top 25, you talked about, Ole Miss being so good under Lane Kiffin. The fact that Kiffin did that at Ole Miss is a big credit. And my argument is, well, really, it's not, because if you've got money now and you're in a power conference, you're going to be an obtainable school. Guys are going to want to go play there. So, historically, what you think of programs is now out the window. So for now, like a program like Tennessee, expectations are college football playoffs. And Heupel still thinks this is a college football playoff level team. We'll see.
And it might be. We don't know.
And exactly. We'll see. I mean, history tells me a true freshman quarterback isn't going to be able to pull that off. But, you've got everything else around you that says it is most certainly capable of doing so. But again, what we see right now in practice looks great because it's all the guys we know.
Yeah, they're fresh and energetic and everything. Yeah,
and we'll see what it looks like up against Georgia Tech and Texas and the rest of them, because they're all thinking the same thing. Texas thinking, man, we got the best team in the country. They probably do. Georgia Tech saying, man, we're not going to be as bad as people think. They
got some dudes on the freak list too.
Yeah, well, that's this point in time. Everyone feels good about what they've got. And then you get the season underway and you're like, oh, crap. That wasn't actually the case. So, again, not a whole lot you can take away from these 15 minutes of practice that we get, but the offensive line has looked really impressive. Derek Owings, the impact he has had. Every single coach and player that we have met with has all brought up Derek Owings. I continue to say it, and I cannot say it enough. Derek Owings was the biggest hire of any team in college football this offseason, and I think you're going to see a direct impact of it this year.
Heard it again today.
Yeah.
Again from Sanders, too.
Most certainly. When we come back on the other side, though, we'll talk about the Derek Owings effect for two specific players for Tennessee named to the Freaks list. We'll tell you who on the other side.
For the fans, by the fans, this is Fan Run Radio. Knoxville.
What kind of day is it? It's a White Claw day. Grab a pack, grab your friends. Everything else in life can wait. Your friends shouldn't. Let's go. White Claw. Grab life by the claw. Please drink responsibly. Hard seltzer with flavor. White Claw Seltzer Works, Chicago, Illinois.
Vol fans, reimagine your home at Broadway Carpets and Flooring for any remodeling or building needs. With a variety of carpets, rugs, hardwood, vinyl, and stone, Broadway has all the flooring and installation options you're looking for, including pet-resistant products like Pet Perfect Carpet from Shaw Floors. Visit their showroom in downtown Knoxville or the location in West Knoxville located on Kingston Pike near Pellissippi Parkway today.
A brand built in Tennessee and born from the love of the game, Inward Half revolutionizes golfing comfort. Crafted by a former pro and dedicated enthusiast just like you, our luxury performance wear guarantees you stay cool and comfortable through every swing and every day. We're not just a brand. We've set out to create a lifestyle for those who understand that impeccable style and premium performance are a hole-in-one. Enjoy the walk-in with Inward Half.
Smoky Mountain Brewery is the place to be for game day. From the moment you walk in, it's wall-to-wall big screens, making Smoky Mountain Brewery the perfect place to watch the Vols or your favorite team in action. With locations in Turkey Creek, Maryville, Pigeon Forge, and Gatlinburg, you're never far away from a great time at Smoky Mountain Brewery. Try one of their world-famous microbrews like Black Bear Ale, Mountain Light, or Cherokee Ale. Juicy burgers, wings that bring the heat, and delicious handmade pizzas made with hand-tossed crust from the freshest ingredients and their own special sauce from a secret recipe, topped off with hand-grated cheese and farm-fresh toppings. And don't forget, those famous microbrews are also available in kegs for your next party or in 6-packs and growlers to go. So grab your crew and head to Smoky Mountain Brewery and tell them Fan Run Radio sent you. Smoky Mountain Brewery. Eat local, eat good.
The voluntary reaction.
Can't get enough Tennessee basketball? Join Fan Run Radio as soon as every UT game is over for Big Orange Country's post-game radio free-for-all. The voluntary reaction. We'll be taking your calls on the Vols as soon as every game is over. So tune in and buckle up as we drink from the keg of glory all the way to the Final Four.
The voluntary reaction. Raw, unfiltered, real.
All right, back here on the Playbook. We appreciate you hanging out with us on this Tuesday from K-Town. Reminder once again, Fan Run Night at the Smokies, Thursday, August 13th, 7 p.m. Eastern Time from Covenant Health Park. Thirsty Thursday, half-price draft beers, college night, $10 tickets with a valid student ID, and arrive early for a commemorative Fan Run Night T-shirt. Should be a great time. David Speaks says Hurts, Tua, Fromm, and T-Law were true freshmen in the playoffs. That is true, but the college football playoff has changed, and college football period has changed since those guys were playing. The transfer portal really kicked into high gear in 2022.
That was one game, right, for those guys?
Well, I mean,
2 games.
They had 2 games.
It was a playoff because it is 14 playoff.
Oh, it was a 14. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah,
that was a 14 playoff, but also that's before we had, Indiana going 16-0 and, teams pulling out $40 million rosters. It's just a different time. And look at who those guys play for. Alabama, Georgia, and Clemson, who all dominated the 2010s.
Well, and the other thing, too, with Tua was that when he came in as a true freshman, I mean, he came in the middle of the game and there was no pressure because they were getting their teeth kicked in. And the pressure was completely off him and shifted to Georgia. He came in as just a, hey, can you spark us in this give us a chance in the game? And he did. It's hard, but I think it's just the pressure dynamic, I think, are different.
Yeah, just college football is different than what it was. I mean, hell, in 2021, 2022 is just
it's almost different year to year.
It really is.
Especially with the way the caps and the spending is riding.
10-1 winning 3 national championships.
I think what we've seen the last 2 years is comparable of what we'll see for the next ensuing years, unless there's a big change. Because guys are entering the portal. They now realize I can play for 4 different teams in 4 seasons and cash in as much as possible.
Well, once if this transfer thing goes through, where they only allow one transfer, then that's going to change it again. One free, because you can transfer. Right, but then
it's unlimited transfers right now, and it should be one free and then a bonus if there's a coaching change, and that's it.
Yeah,
but like those are the only 2 reasons you should ever be transferring. You get the one free if you're coming from like group of 5, to like the SEC or Big Ten. And then if there's a coaching change and you're at a high profile school, but you don't like and you want to move back, that's fine.
Well, I think everyone should get one free transfer. I think if a coach leaves, then everyone is allowed to do that as well. But
specifically like head coach and like a coordinator, but that's it.
Yeah, I'd say more head coach.
Yeah,
I don't think you'd allow, because coordinators move around all the time.
Yeah.
And maybe you could put something in there for injuries. If guy gets injured, loses his job type of deal. But the problem is there's always going to be the next case. There's always going to be the next reason as to why. I think if you just unified it to where everyone's got one transfer, if you transfer again, you got to sit out the season and you lose.
Just keep this 5 for 5.
Yeah, and lose an extra year of eligibility. So then it incentivizes guys to stick around and actually choose the right place coming out of high school, not just where they want to get some cash. But real quick, we'll take a look at the Freaks list. As Brett had mentioned yesterday, The Athletic, as they always do, Bruce Feldman does a great job with this every season, released the 101 players on the Freaks list. And these are the guys that are just supreme athletes in college football that have superior strength, quickness, speed, all the traits that make you a really good football player and one that is hard to be replicated elsewhere. Tennessee was tabbed with 2 guys, Arian Carter and Mike Matthews. Carter was number 6 on the list, and here's the write-up from Feldman. Quote, he was in the top 12 on the Freaks list last season, and he's moving up after improving his vert a few inches to 42.5 and upping his bench press to 400 pounds. That's up 75 pounds. The former high school 300-meter hurdle standout also recently clocked a 21.7 mile per hour time on the GPS. That's up 21.2 from last year. And he's standing at 6'1", 238 pounds, a great student who has been on the SEC academic roll each of the previous 3 seasons. He is also an all-SEC player and team captain who led the conference last year in tackles per game at 7.6. Arian Carter obviously has been in the headlines over the last couple of weeks following the NCAA suspension over a $427 flight that was paid for by his representation when he was going through the NFL draft process. Carter paid that flight back, or paid for the price of that flight back to his agent when he decided to return to college. But he will not be available for the Vols' first 2 games of the season. We'll miss Furman and the road game against Georgia Tech. But outside of that, some more positive news for Carter is that he is an incredible athlete and has quickly been a product of the Derek Owings impact. And Bruce Feldman tabs him at number 6 on the Freaks list. Pretty impressive stuff. And I like that he also mentions the other dynamics about Carter other than just the bench press of 400 pounds and the vert of 42.5. He's a great student. He's a team leader, team captain, all SEC guy. And that's called being a great player, a great student athlete, excelling everywhere on the field and off the field. That's the type of guy that Carter is. And that's why I think there was so much outrage over the suspension a couple of weeks back, because this is the same guy that back in May, when his girlfriend was going through chemotherapy, having to shave her head because of all the treatments and stuff that goes on as a product of that, he decided to shave his head too. That's just the guy he is. And we spoke to a lot of his teammates last week, Amari Campbell, Jeremiah Thielander, and his positions coach, William Inge, and all the guys said it's almost motivated him even more, the suspension has. So this is a guy that is a true leader, and yeah, he's upset about the suspension, and anyone would be. But he's not letting it deter him, and he's not pouting and moping around practice. He's still being a leader and still being the freak athlete that he's tabbed by Bruce Feldman as. So a great attribute to Carter, and I also think it is something that speaks volumes of Derek Owings. Counter to you, Arian Carter tabbed at number 6 on the Freaks list. What do you make of it?
Well, it speaks to the athleticism and the improvements that he's made in the offseason. We keep talking about the Owings effect, and everyone's talking about it, but you're seeing it. And I think one of the other things that we'll notice a little bit more this year probably is going to be his speed, because he was dealing with some foot problems last year. Was it sprains, or was he dealing with something else?
A turf toe.
That was it. So I think it's not just that his high end speed is going to be better next year, but it's also going to be that he's healthy, right? I think you're going to see a little bit more of that sideline to sideline, and his ability to kind of come up in the run game or come in like on blitz or whatever, whether he's playing that linebacker or that Leo, wherever they have him. I think you're going to notice that speed a little bit more, but I think it's going to be huge for the defense, and it's going to be huge. So it's the strength that people are going to talk about, but to me, I think the speed and the fact that he's going to get faster and he's going to be healthy. That's what's exciting to me about what Arion Carter is going to bring this year and the improvements that he's made under Derek Owings. So I think the athleticism, his speed, I think it's going to be terrific.
Brett, what about you? Arion Carter, we talked a little bit about it yesterday, but Carter tabbed at number 6 on the freaks list. What do you think that says about him?
He's a freak. No, I didn't remember the freak list last year all that much. And, to see that he was up there in the top 12 is, I think now you can see why maybe he entered himself in the NFL draft. Like his intangibles and his athleticism. I think somebody writing an article like this only helps your draft stock possibly if you go out and you play well. So number 6, considering all the college football players that are out there, and to hear some of these numbers and how fast he is and things like that. If he can put together a full healthy season, he was second team all conference last year. So pair that with a new athleticism, increasing his numbers, then, who knows where he can prop himself up into an NFL draft even. So him and Mike Matthews, very impressive to be on this list. And 6 is crazy to see him that high for sure.
There's some athletes that he's ahead, like Colin Simmons. We talk about all the time from Texas. He's ahead of Simmons, right?
Colin Simmons is a bad MF.
He's a bad dude, yeah.
I wouldn't want to run into him.
No. Because when you look at Arion, he doesn't look like he's, I don't know, when he's out on maybe it was just last year. Maybe now he's gotten bigger and faster. But I
think when you're watching on TV,
he had like 15 tackles that one game. He was all over the field. Was it Mississippi State? Maybe.
Yeah,
he had like 15 or 8 tied a
Georgia
school record.
He had a big game against Georgia as well. But I think when you're watching these guys on TV, the cameras are so far back that it's sometimes, and they're also going up against other SEC level players. It doesn't look like they're as big. But I promise, when you can in front of these guys in person, you're like, oh man, I wouldn't want to piss any of these guys off.
No, but 42.5-inch vertical at whatever he is, like 250 pounds. I don't know how big he is, but
it's going to help too over the middle, because with the length, but also the height, and he's trying to deflect those passes, and maybe you get one that's tipped over the middle, and someone comes up and makes an interception.
I thought TJ would be on the list. Just looking at that guy.
There's a couple of other guys.
Oh, Metcalf.
He looks like a specimen.
Yeah, I've got another guy to throw on here after we talk about Matthews.
Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't know. I was on.
No, you're good.
I didn't hear if you talked about him yet.
No, but Matthews on this list as well, number 71, Mike Matthews, that is, former 5-star recruit who enters into his second season as a starter. He caught 53 passes for 813 yards and 4 touchdowns. And the write-up that Feldman gave is the 6'1", 200-pounder has really benefited from the arrival of new strength and conditioning coach Derek Owings, who came from national champion Indiana. Matthews has improved his tap-in speed to 23 miles an hour, and his 1.43 second 10-yard split also stands out. Matthew also vertical jumped 38.5 inches. I like that one line about Mr. Owings. D.O. done a great job. A lot of do's with Derek Owings. D.O. A little play on words there, but Matthews on this list as well, and I wouldn't have necessarily tabbed him on here if it were to been up to me, but I think he is an incredible athlete, and we got to see a couple of those great catches last year. I don't know if you guys remember it, but it was against UAB maybe or Chattanooga. No, I mean ETSU. That's what it was.
Oh yeah.
And Joey kind of threw up that moon ball.
Yeah. Someone down there, I saw that way from the top of the second bowl.
Yeah, not a throw I would have made. Or
you don't get away with that one.
No,
not an SEC play.
But with Mike Matthews down there,
you got away with
ETSU.
With Mike Matthews down there, you can. And that was one of his more athletic plays of the season, where he just kind of careened up into the air and caught it. So
jumping over the likes of me and you.
Yeah, well, I mean, but it's still a great catch.
Okay,
Still a
that's
great
fine.
catch.
Fair enough.
Still a great catch.
Fair enough.
We talked about him in hour one, or in the first segment. I would have thrown David Sanders on here.
I couldn't agree more.
He's more of a freak than anyone.
Yeah. That was the one name. That was one name where you mentioned the two, and it's like, well, where's David Sanders? Because the way he moves, the way he's built, the way he slimmed down too. Like he talked a little bit the way he slimmed down. He cut out all the fried stuff. He's a little disappointed in that you can kind of see it a little bit. But shoot, man, like the way he finished those drills this morning. I mean, it's just a small thing, but it's just a glimpse of like what he can be. Right, like the way he finished those drills, he just finished different than everybody else.
I would have had.
TJ Metcalf should have been on here.
David Sanders. Ethan Davis is up there too, man.
Really?
I've played basketball against Ethan Davis, and that's when he was a freshman.
Were you sitting on someone's shoulders playing basketball against him?
No.
You've told the story. Yeah.
There are probably 4 or 5 videos of me and Ethan Davis playing.
There you go.
I think I was a junior. He was a freshman, something like that. It's the craziest thing of all time. He walked in 5 minutes late to the game with his 10 girlfriend. And he walked in there and gave us 35 points and was dunking and alley-ooping and all that crap. You really don't understand how athletic these guys are until you go out there and start playing against them. And it's not even their sport. Ethan Davis is a football player, not a basketball player. And maybe, he is, 6'4", 6'5", whatever it may be. So he's going to stand out. Yeah. He's going to stand out against the frat kids. Yeah. But, there are a lot of these guys on this Tennessee team. And that was 2 years ago. Now with D.O. in the mix, this is a group that is in the best condition, many of them in their entire lives. I love every time a guy talks about I've cut out fried food or cut out fast food or processed food. It makes me smile ear to ear. I love hearing it.
It says Mike Matthews' top speed is 23 miles an hour.
23 miles an hour.
And I think that's why the 42.5 is just mind-blowing because it says he's 38.5 inch vertical.
Yeah.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to get Arian out there in the red zone, just throw it up to him.
Yeah, maybe.
I think the other thing with this list, who's number 9 on here is a former Tennessee recruit, Emmanuel Okoye.
Yeah.
Edge for Cal now.
Yeah.
Is on the freak list.
And he was a tight end here, I believe.
He came over from the NFL Academy as well. So,
and they switched him over to DN. There was some discourse about Nick Harbor too, saying that Harbor chose the wrong position. He should be playing D end at 6'3", 238. And what he
play both ways.
Yeah. All right. When we come back on the other side, we'll wrap up hour number 1. Stay right here. It's the Playbook on Fan Run Radio.
Catch up with all things Fan Run by subscribing to our podcast feed. Like, rate, and download the show from the Fan Run app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jacob Wilco at Knoxville Smiles. Have you ever wanted to improve the look of your smile? We know firsthand what the power of a great smile means to a person's confidence and health. Our team of doctors can provide you with an array of options for helping you achieve your cosmetic goals. From simply moving teeth into a better position, to reversible cosmetic bonding, to full mouth implant-supported dentures. It is our goal to help patients feel good about their appearance while achieving optimal health. Want to learn more? Call us at 865-539-1776 to schedule an evaluation or visit us online at knoxvillesmiles.com.
Hi, this is Bo Kregner from the Kregner Group at Realty Executives, and I know there's a lot of choices here in East Tennessee when it comes to choosing a realtor. Here's why the Kregner Group is different. At the Kregner Group, our motto is walking by faith, serving others. It's how I live my life. It's how I run my business. Here at the Kregner Group, we're committed to doing real estate the right way. Faith, honesty, integrity. The Kregner Group. Call me anytime at 865-742-1035 or visit my website at bonoshouses.com.
Welcome to Axle Logistics, where excellence isn't just a goal, it's an energy. As a leading third-party logistics company, Axle is powered by an award-winning culture built on a work hard, play hard mentality. Here, the drive for success is contagious and hard work never goes unnoticed. Whether you're just starting out or looking to level up, Axle Logistics is the place to launch your career. Join us and take your ambition to the stars. To learn more, visit axlelogistics.com.
All right, back here on the Playbook. We appreciate you hanging out with us. Wrapping up hour number 1, talking about the Freaks List. Guys tabbed on the Athletics, Bruce Feldman, or I guess tabbed by the Athletics, Bruce Feldman, in terms of being some of the best athletes in college football, a number of them. I saw a couple of my guys on there. Francis Baru, transfer
24.
from Pittsburgh over now at Notre Dame. He's on that list. The Jaden Woods kid out of Florida, he's a beast too. There are a lot of really incredible athletes despite this age, and I think we're seeing more and more of them. I mean, like David Gabriel George, I should say, for a 18-year-old high school senior.
He'll be on this.
I bet he'll be on this list eventually. Because
did you check to make sure he wasn't?
maybe the incoming high schoolers section.
I mean, if you go to NIL, he's already on there.
Where would you put him on that list next year?
Well,
I mean, it's a lot to think about, but way out front. But I mean, shoot. I mean, just look at his physique now and like what he's going to be like with Owings.
As a true freshman, I probably will not be on this list, but from talking to some recruiting people about DGG and why he's not the number one overall running back, some of the recruiting analysts say that he's already filled out and this is what he is, and that there's not a lot more room for him to get stronger and like bigger in terms of his physique. And, I think that I don't necessarily disagree or agree with that, but I would wonder how much bigger he could get when you already look at him right now. I mean, he looks like a grown man out there. You saw it this past weekend against Buford High School. How much bigger can DGG get? I mean, it's not that it's a bad thing, but I think in high school you're evaluating what they could be at their peak, and some of the recruiting analysts kind of believe this is already DGG's peak, and it's still a really good player.
Well, I think the other thing too, I mean, you look at the way Mike Matthews improved his speed and explosiveness. I mean, it's hard to not think about, okay, well, maybe he might not fill out, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he's not going to be more explosive when he gets to Tennessee, especially when he gets molded by Derek Owings. So, I think there's more room to grow. I don't know. I wouldn't put too much stock into it. I don't think it's fair to say that he won't undergo a lot of physical transformation while he's at Tennessee. So I just wouldn't worry too much about that, because he will develop physically a little bit with Owings, because Owings is going to get a couple things different that'll just make him that much better.
I will say DGG already doesn't do fast food, anything like that. He goes to bed at 9:00, watches film. I mean, I think he's about as mature of a high school kid you could find. And we mentioned it yesterday. I think he told Chad Simmons on Monday that he's not going to entertain any other schools. And that's how I felt once he committed, especially with the way he approached it, being very specific where he visited and the timing of everything. But Go Vols 1017 says, bro just rambles every time he speaks. Is that talking about me?
I don't know.
Go Vols.
Who are you talking about?
I don't know. We'll see. Go Vols. Let us know who rambles. If I'm rambling, I'll switch to the other side. I'll clean it up in hour 2, because that's what's on deck. We'll tell you what Glenn Ellerby had to say when meeting with the media today, talking David Sanders, Donovan Haslam, and some of these new younger guys that could possibly make their way onto the field. And then we'll react to On3's top 25 teams in college football heading into the new season. Tennessee tabbed in the top 20. We'll break it down. We return right here on the Playbook.
Follow us on Twitter or X or whatever they're calling it these days at Fox Sports Knox, Fox Sports Knoxville, Fan Run Radio.
Blackford Veterinary Surgery Referral specializes in surgeries not regularly performed by your pet's general veterinarian. They're currently accepting referrals from vets all across the country. With their newly renovated state-of-the-art surgery center and highly trained staff, clients can rely on professional and thorough care. If your vet says that your pet needs surgery or rehab, ask for a referral to Blackford Vet and let them get your best friend back on its feet. Located conveniently in West Knoxville. For more information, visit blackfordvetsurgery.com.
Snakes, zombies, sharks, heights, speaking in public. The list of fears is endless. But while you're clutching your blanket in the dark, wondering if that sound in the hall was actually a footstep, the real danger is in your hand, when you're behind the wheel. And while you might think a great white shark is scary, what's really terrifying and even deadly is distracted driving. Eyes forward, don't drive distracted. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
eBay Motors is here for the ride. Go ahead, feel your engine. Admire that perfectly installed exhaust. Your vehicle's moving along this freeway like it was made from fresh installs and a whole lot of love. With eBay Motors, you get over 122 million parts to keep it running. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, they'll be the perfect fit every time. Plus, at these prices, well, we're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
You're listening to FM 105.7 and AM 1340, WKGN Knoxville, and W289CU Knoxville, Fan Run Radio.
Running a business, coaching a team, planning your next big event, you need more than just gear. You need SM Athletics and Logo Solutions. Custom uniforms, branded apparel, promotional products, done right, done fast, and built to show off your brand with pride. From local businesses to high schools to major universities, SM Athletics is trusted by winners. Get real service, get real quality, get noticed. SM Athletics and Logo Solutions, where your brand comes to life.
Visit smathletics.com and let's build something great together. Golf Envy Farragut is the premier indoor golf experience you've been looking for. And right now they are offering a limited number of founding memberships. Golfers can reserve their spot for just $150 before their September grand opening. Founding members receive 90 days of unlimited guest passes as well as an exclusive risk-free first month. That's right. Try out Golf Envy with no obligation. Give it 30 days, and if it's not the right fit for what you're looking for, your first month's dues will be refunded. Members will get access to their Golf Zone 2 Vision NX simulator technology, the most realistic simulator on the market, where they can play more than 300 courses and compete in leagues and tournaments with players all across the country. Golf, rain or shine, 24/7, 365. To learn more and become a founding member, visit their website at farragut.golfenvy.com/presale.
What's the difference between an ordinary EV and a Mercedes-Benz EV? The feeling. Electric is what gets you there. Mercedes-Benz is what moves you in ways no other automaker can. Feel the freedom of the superbly versatile 7-seater EQB. Revel in the inspired, customizable comfort of the EQE sedan. Sense the brilliant intelligence of the EQE SUV. Discover the boundless capability of the EQS SUV. And luxuriate in the flagship meets spaceship magnificence of the EQS sedan. Every Mercedes-Benz electric vehicle offers the very latest MBUX voice-activated AI software, as well as remote access to a whole host of functions via the Mercedes Me Connect app. The vehicle's electric, the feeling all Mercedes, the choice all yours. Test drive a Mercedes-Benz electric today at your local dealer or learn more at mbusa.com/EQ.
Here we go. Hour number 2 on a Tuesday, live from the White Claw Hard Seltzer Studios. It's the Playbook on Fan Run Radio. Appreciate you hanging out with us on this fine day from Knoxville. Great stuff in hour number 1. We'll continue it here in hour number 2. Brett Hullander, Connor Whitney joining you. I'm William Pattison. We still got plenty to cover in hour 2 as Glenn Ellerby met with the media earlier today after practice, talking about this offensive line group. And as we've seen in the chat today, a lot of people believe this group is deep, and Glenn Ellerby would agree. We'll talk about that, and also how Donovan Haslem might be a superhero. He's got superpowers, said Coach Ellerby. So that was a pretty good quote. I like that. And then on 3, mocking me. They're following me up, Brent. I gave my top 25. On 3 must have seen it and said, we got to do our own. They put theirs out today ahead of the 2026 season. We'll react to that. Tennessee slated in the top 20, along with multiple other SEC teams, and we'll wrap it up with our final thoughts. But we'll get back into it with Coach Ellerby at the mic, meeting with the media. discussing the challenge of finding that best five, David Sanders' growth and maturity, and much else more. We'll begin with one of the first questions, and that is on if he has more options this season to find Tennessee football's best five offensive linemen than at any point he has had in the past. This is what he had to say, quote, "That's a great question. We definitely have options, I feel like. But if I'm just sitting there and looking at every single one of them, this would definitely be one of the years that we've probably had the most competition and options, especially returning guys we brought in, the young guys developing. It's like anything. If you have competition, I think it will end up making us better, period, for sure." And, we had touched on this in hour one. The returners, Wendell Moy, Sam Pendleton, David Sanders Jr., and Jesse Perry, all those guys were starters at the end of the season. And Lance Hurd moved to Kentucky. He's going to be a part of that big blue wall, as they're calling it, in Lexington. But that then offers an opportunity for Donovan Haslam, a transfer from West Virginia, began his career at Austin Peay. Ori Williams, a transfer from LSU, doesn't have a ton of experience game-wise, but at 6'8", offers a really good swing blocker. And then you've got Sham Umarov, who you saw a good bit at the beginning of last season due to the injury of David Sanders. And when Jesse Perry went down, Sham Umarov came back in that spot. So he was kind of that plug-and-play player for Tennessee last year. But as we have learned, there's some other new guys in this room that are pretty impressive. Kamari Blair, Nick Moore, who's competing at center. And then, I think Gabriel Osenda's a little bit of ways away, but in terms of the eye candy, it's most certainly there. 6'8", I'll take that. He looks the part of a future SEC offensive lineman. But this is a deep room, and I think that's so important for the current dynamic of this offense with a young quarterback coming in, because I don't care if you have Peyton Manning or Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes in your backfield as your quarterback. If your offensive line sucks, your team will too. Any sport, or I guess any level, whether it be college football or NFL, if the offensive line isn't good, the quarterback play is not going to be either. That's why Justin Herbert and the Los Angeles Chargers have had so many problems over the years. Obviously, they've firmed up that group, but early on, he was all over the place because he couldn't have any time in the backfield, couldn't have any time in the pocket. So I think that's a huge piece to Tennessee's offense this season, that you've got an established O-line and multiple returners. The fact that Deshaun Bishop, a 1,000-yard rusher, can run behind four guys he did last year, that's another big plus. And as we've mentioned, the kind of the debate right now is who will be that fifth guy. But you've got options, and that's a good thing. It's a good thing to have options and not be grasping for straws of who you would rather play. It's not like, I guess we will play this guy. It's a debate. Haslam, Williams, Umarov, which one do you want? So I agree. I think this is the deepest the offensive line room has been. I think this is the deepest the linebacker room has been. And I think those are two really key positions for Tennessee football. I'd say, too, wide receiver. The wide receivers I focused on a lot in the first day that we were there, but I think you've got 6 or 7 guys in that room that could play. Mike Matthews, Braylon Staley, what they return as top 11 receivers in the SEC last season. Braylon Staley, the 2025 SEC Freshman of the Year. But you got Radar Jackson, TK Keys. Who am I missing here? Travis Smith Jr., Joakim Dotson, Tyreek King. I think all those guys could play into the mix as well. So you've got 3 really deep positions at key spots. And hearing Ellerbe talk about this group being deep, I think is a really important attribute to this offensive line heading into the season. Connor, what'd you make of the quote?
Well, I think he has options. He's not wrong. I think the depth is we've been talking about it all off season long, that the offensive line is going to be, I think, the strength of the offense. And we're kind of seeing it as well. I mean, we talk about, 3 guys looking at one position because the other 4 could be locked down. And Jesse Perry, Pendleton, Moy, and Sanders. And it's a good problem to have. And then you also throw in Nick Moore in there as well. So, I mean, you have a bunch of guys that are fighting for one spot. That just speaks to the depth that Tennessee is going to have. So, and if someone drops out because of injury, then you got someone to step in their place and they feel good. And the other thing too is that you have the positional flexibility. You have guys that could play guard. Haslam could play guard. He could play tackle. Perry could play tackle. He could play guard, and they could play either side as well. So I think you feel really good about the offensive line and the group where they're at and the competition. He spoke about it a little bit. It will inevitably make them better, but I think they're in a position where, one way or another, like they're going to be struggling, I think, to figure out who that fifth guy is just because of, they're splitting hairs as to who's going to be better.
Well, on that offensive guard position specifically, he was asked about that as well as a follow-up, and he said, quote, "That's fair. I think that helps. You have some options at left guard and tackle. You always have Jesse Perry that can kind of do both, so he can balance the scales more with the other if you need it. But yeah, at guard, we've definitely got some good man mover bodies, and you saw those today, Ori Williams being one of them."
Yeah.
Brett, when you look at that guard position specifically, what do you make of Tennessee's cast there? And, ultimately, what do you think holds the greatest weight in terms of who gets that starting position?
I mean, that's a good question. I lean Haslam there. I think his experience, his size, his numbers are really good. He played at a West Virginia team that, wasn't great, but his numbers and the amount of snaps he's played, I think, we saw that with the experience of Wendell Moy coming in here and he hit the ground running and he's been unbelievable there at the guard spot. I think Haslam has the potential to do that. I think that's why we kind of both lean him. But it's a great problem to have. Like, if you don't feel comfortable with him, just pick another guy that was one of your best offensive linemen and Jesse Perry there. So, I think this is probably your strongest unit. We talk about the receivers and the linebackers, but I think this O-line has the potential to be the strength of the football team. I just think they're going to create holes and they're going to create time for whatever five guys are out there. So I think this unit's going to be really good. I think they have the potential to be the best offensive line in the conference, and I think they're going to show why, no matter what five guys you want to put out there. But it's been a long time since I remember an offensive line having this much quality and just physicality and just and different things like that. So I'm excited about this unit. I think they have the best. They could be the best unit in the SEC and best unit on this football team.
Well, let's talk specifically about the face of this offensive line, and that is David Sanders, who I continue to be impressed with every time we go out there and watch him practice. And this is what Ellerby had to say about his attributes as a leader, because last week we heard Kamari Blair, a true freshman, talk about how Sanders has been coaching him and Gabriel Osenda up. And I think that's so cool for a young guy like that to be coached by a guy just a year above him, right? But this is what Coach Ellerby had to say about Sanders specifically. Quote, "You see him consistently coaching. I hear him probably as much. Jesse probably does more coaching. That's not fair. But I hear Dave a lot. One of the ones, drills, teams, watching Gabe, watching Kamari. Hey, do this, do that. In the meeting room, we recognize our seating structure where all the tacklers can kind of be there in a little pod and they can talk. And he does a great job pointing things out. So, like, he wants to be involved, and he's just a great, natural human being." And I think all those attributes and all those characteristics are spot on. Connor, you were talking about it earlier, just meeting in the press conference after practice. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. The guys in there are not, I guess there are a couple of adults, but most of them are still in their 20s and maybe early 30s. I don't necessarily think he has to say yes, ma'am, or yes, sir to everyone, but he does because that's how he was raised. That's how he was taught. And there are not a lot of kids like that these days anymore. And there are not a lot of guys at his position and in his shoes that would do the same thing. 5-star who's going to play in the NFL here soon to be a first-round pick. He could walk in and do whatever he wants in almost any building he wants. But he was raised the right way, and he wants to instill the same values and same things that he has learned throughout his career into the other guys, whether they be older or younger. I think that's great leadership, and that's guys you want in your locker room. When Nico Iamaleava and all that went down, Josh Heupel said there's no one bigger than the power T. And 5 stars are usually characterized as guys that are bigger than themselves or bigger than the program or bigger than the situation they're going into. That's not David Sanders. He fits right in, and you, unless outside of looking at him and watching him play, you wouldn't know that he's a 5-star and a future first-round pick with the way he acts. Now, obviously, when you see him stand up and push guys around, you can say, "Oh yeah, that's a first-round pick."
That
but
5-star heart, Butch Jones loves.
Yeah. Butch Jones would love this cat. He really would.
Anybody in the country would.
That's a 5-star plus heart right there.
Yeah.
And I love to hear it because with so much negativity that has surrounded the program and the national eye in terms of recruiting and guys coming in and out, Nico, Boo Carter, Chaz Coleman, stories like these, guys like these need to be projected louder than some of the bad news. And it's just the way that the world works these days. People love bad news. People like controversy. People like arguing, disagreeing. That's why I think media is the way it is now, where you turn on ESPN, it's just a bunch of arguing. People want to be told you're wrong or you're this, you're that. David Sanders does that, gives $20K of his NIL earnings to his high school 2 weeks ago, and it kind of flies under the radar. Now, obviously, Knoxville area news picks it up, but it doesn't really make national news. It doesn't really get clicks because it's not controversial. Now, Nico Iamaleava says he wants to leave Tennessee, and it's postered on every message board and site in America. That's just the reality of how news works these days. But you would wish that stories like this, you would wish that David Sanders and the characteristics that he brings to the table would be louder, because I think as a world we would be a lot better off. And I'm so happy that Tennessee gets to have a guy like that. What do you make of these characteristics from Ellerbe, Connor? Natural human being, great leader. Those are the type of traits you want to hear for at least if you're an NFL team about to draft this guy in a couple of years.
I don't know if I said it in the intro of the show, but I had certainly told it to Brett, there should be 32 GMs that are clamoring to have this guy play for them, to draft him, And I think it speaks to a really strong culture that Sanders is helping to spearhead, because it was Ori Williams, I think, that mentioned that, he goes to David a lot, and he's learned a lot from David himself, and he's older than David. And, the other thing too is that they have a great relationship, and I was telling Brett about this. It's almost like they're throwing like pillow punches at each other, like just playful, like, I want to take your job, I'm fighting for a job. Because at the end of the day, they're both fighting for, same tackle job, and you only put two on the same time, and it might be Donovan on the other side. But my point being that the culture and the bond that they have is terrific on the field, off the field. There's nothing fake. When you see him talk and the way they talk about each other, there's nothing fake about what they talk about. There's nothing fake about what their relationship is. Their dynamic is strong. So I think when you hear all these things about David, the leader that he is and the talent that he is, I think speaks to the way he's spearheading the great culture that the offensive line group has. And I think it's really encouraging to hear.
Brett, what about you?
I don't know what else there's more to say about him. We've talked about him all, and I've spoken on this guy should have been at media days and things like that. I think it's the reason why, our offensive line is where it is. I think he's a big reason why Osenda's here. I think it's a big reason why maybe Haslam's here. I think when guys, offensive linemen, come on visits and they meet this guy, they want to play with this guy and honestly learn from this guy, probably because he's as talented as an offensive lineman that Tennessee's ever going to have. I really feel that way, and we've produced some good ones. And this guy has the potential, both on and off the field, to be a true ambassador of the university, and that's what it's all about first and foremost. And he might be the highest paid player, but he's earning that. A lot of guys are getting their money, and then they're not putting in the work. And I think this guy proved that last year, and he's proved it again this year, and he'll do it again next year. And in the NFL, so on and so forth. So we're fortunate to get to watch him, and you guys are getting an up close, view of this guy and what he brings to the table. And I take y'all's word for it and what he means to the university and what he means to this whole football team. And it's really exciting to see where this guy's going to go. And I think we saw that with his donation to his former school. So great to have David Sanders in our team and in our city and different things like that. So big time get for Tennessee, right, with this kid.
I almost want to ask, would you basically at this point, we talk so glowingly about his character. Would you almost call him the heart and soul of the offense at this point?
I think the offensive line is usually where the heart and soul
You're in a
comes
good
from.
spot with some good guys. Deshaun Bishop's in the same boat.
Sean Bishop,
Yeah.
that's a really
Aaron
tough
Carter,
guy to go up against. And you don't say that in a negative light in terms of a competition who's got
And
a
you talk
better
about
heart.
total in different ends of the spectrum. Like
Most
David
certainly.
Sanders, number one player in the country
Most
out of high
certainly.
school.
Yeah.
Sean Bishop had to walk on to Tennessee because he knew what it was about.
Most certainly.
So they do it in the same way,
Mhm.
but got there different ways.
Like two salts of the earth people, one who had to earn his way, and then one who just learned.
Not
his
to say
way.
David Sanders hadn't
Exactly.
earned what he's gotten either,
Yeah.
but
But but again, he's just
the
a
Lord
salt,
blessed him with 6'8" and 300 something pounds.
and his parents instilled in him good character. You know,
100%.
you just feel it. You know, and you feel and you hear from it, and you feel it the way Ori Williams talks about him.
Deshaun Bishop is one of the best stories in college football.
Yeah.
And, I love to talk. I love to, I love having conversations, but it is very rare that I'm left speechless after talking to a guy.
Yeah, you've had the pleasure of interviewing him.
And when I met with Deshaun, there was one answer. I didn't even know what to say. I was just like, whoa. And I think that, again, speaks volumes to the type of guy that he is. But I think he has learned that through his own experiences. And I think the difference in both these guys, as you mentioned, kind of who's that heart, who's that soul, I think both these guys are in their own ways. Sanders was, raised the right way, and despite being a 5-star recruit and a future first-round pick, he doesn't have his cool jacket on. He's not all about me. He's about team, and he's about let's help these guys out. So I love that for Deshaun. I think he's had to learn the way to be a leader, because when he got on campus, as you mentioned, it was a walk-on, and he didn't even know it.
People didn't know who he was, probably.
No, people didn't know who he. I mean, if you're a local Knoxville person,
he's
probably
a legend around here.
You probably saw him on the television a couple of times on Friday nights, because he did run for 8,000 plus yards.
Yes,
second most in Tennessee high school football history. It's crazy that guy was a walk-on, but I mean, he had to battle some adversity. He was almost kicked off the team in 2024. A lot of people don't know that. He was almost kicked off the team. He was running with the wrong crowd, making bad decisions. About kicked off the team, and he finally got in shape and straight and is now on the right path. But I think through those experiences, he has learned leadership. I think everyone obtains leadership a different way. For him, he has steadily grown in himself and have learned from those experiences to now with this new running back room. He's the elder, and he hadn't been the elder before. He was alongside a Dylan Sampson and Jalen Wright. And, last season it was Peyton Lewis and Star Thomas. It was kind of a trio of them. Now it's him, Javen Gordon, and a couple of guys that haven't played before, really.
Yep.
So he's the older guy. He's the elder man. And that's a great guy to have as the elder man, because he's been in that same spot as a Justin Baker and a Dwayne Morris. But, with a young quarterback, a quarterback in general is usually the leader. And I think both those guys are going to have to demonstrate leadership skills. I was a big fan of George McIntyre taking those guys to Miami this offseason. And it was right after the bowl game. It was early in January. I was a big fan of that, because that shows, willing to, take command, take effort. Let's go to Miami. Let's have a couple of good times on the beach, but let's also get some workouts in. I love that, forming chemistry. So I think usually with an offense, it's your quarterback. But when you've got guys like Sanders and Bishop, who are leaders in their own role, own way, I think it's a good combo. But I can't say enough good things about Mr. Sanders. An incredible kid, and Tennessee's so grateful to have him. Hope he has a great, healthy season. But another guy that LRB talked about was Donovan Haslam and what he brings to the table. And this was one of my favorite quotes of the day. He said, quote, "Absolutely the most physical dude since I've been here. Not even a question. He's violent, like violent. That's his superpower. He's still got to be able to, he's still got to be able to, he's a little bit heavy, and he gets tired and doesn't move the way he should. He knows that. He's got to get that right. But if you're building a superhero squad, he would be the violent, powerful one, and the guys love seeing that. And they love when he's starting to understand things mentally and he's able to do things technique-wise within that. I don't know. It's like everybody cheers for him in that room. It's cool to see. And that's a really good quote, too, talking about that room specifically. But I want to talk about Donovan Haslam because as a West Virginia transfer with 36 games under his belt in his career, 14 starts. Another unique stat about him, folks, 18 straight games without a sack allowed at his spot. Now, his matchup has not sacked the quarterback. That's a pretty good stat, too. He's got the experience. He's a fifth-year senior. I think it works for him to be in the starting group. We talked about in hour one, the violentness, the physicality. That's stuff that translates in the SEC. When you go up against Colin Simmons at Texas, that's physical and violent. When you go up against Dylan Stewart at South Carolina, that's physical and violent. Alabama, we were talking about it yesterday, Brett, in the top 25 teams. Alabama's got a good defense. They've got some violent players along that line of scrimmage. Tennessee's going to have to go up against them. Texas A&M on the road, that's a violent bunch under Mike Elko. I like guys that have the right characteristics, and though he might be a little bit out of shape, needs to get into that, especially in this Tennessee offense where you want to roll the pace and go pretty quick. You want to see that corrected, but in terms of violent and physical, I don't think how you could get better characteristics as an offensive lineman in the SEC. Brett, what do you make of those quotes from Ellerby about Haslam?
Yeah, I mean, well, the roster listed like 6'3", 350, or something like that. You love to hear it. You want to be able to punch your guy in the mouth, and I think that's what that screams, and I think he will. Reading that, it makes me a little worried considering the pace we like to play with, and now I feel like maybe Perry's going to be the answer there when I hear the second part of that. But just the overall, the stats, the numbers, the experience, and things like that really excites you with what Haslam can do. And yeah, I mean, I think sounds like a road grader type, and goal line, goal to goal situations. You want that guy on your line, to get over the line and things like that. So. Yeah, I mean, you love to hear it. And, just kind of reading through all of what Ellerby said, it's been what I thought. I think this has the potential to be the best unit on the field. And his words and talking about all these guys isn't changing that. It's just strengthening that for me. And, excited to see what Mr. Haslam can do and his violentness. And I'm ready for Cole Kublik to put him on his pancake segments and things like that. So I think it's really good to see. And he's going to bring that physicality that, maybe we need a little more of last year.
He's got a good last name for a Tennessee player, too, Haslam.
Might have thrown an extra couple dollars at him.
Yeah. A Tennessee player wearing Haslam on the back name or back name plate, pretty good. And I imagine some of that NIL fund came from Mr. Haslam, the older Mr. Haslam of which. But, Connor, what about you? What do you make of Haslam and the traits of possibly being a superhero from Glenn Ellerby?
I thought it was far and away the most illuminating answer that he gave personally. Like he talked about, the depth of the line, do you want five of the best each position? That to me was the most eye opening because I thought he just let it rip and he spoke so glowingly about the physicality that Haslam has. We call the physicality a superpower. I didn't hear him talk about anybody else that way. I mean, I'm just saying it like it is. And when you talk about, the four other spots that, being potentially locked down, and then you hear your O-line coach talk about, well, this dude, his superpower is violence. And you hear him talk so glowingly about him and all the traits that he has. He's smart, he hasn't allowed a sack, at the position, it just tells me that I think he's probably the favorite right now, but he's just so strong at the position. So to me, it's great to hear how quickly he's kind of acclimated and kind of where he's at. The pace might be a bit of a concern, but again, if they do kind of that hurry up and wait, I think that might help just a little bit. But even so, it's very encouraging to hear the O-line coach speak so glowingly about a dude and the physicality that he brings and the edges that he brings. I think they could certainly use a lot of that. And I don't know. It tells me that, again, I think he's out front for that fifth spot. So when you hear him speak so glowingly, it's impressive.
Looking at the YouTube chat, Music City Sam when I was discussing that big blue wall for Kentucky. He says more like a big blue sinkhole. Fuzzy OG says high character guys in the locker room now. It's not drama, so no one cares, it seems. And then Music City Sam adds, the SEC better pray Faison can't play because a good dual threat behind this O-line with Deshaun Bishop, our receivers, and our tight ends isn't stoppable when Heupel gets cooking on the calls. I like that. And I think most certainly could be that way. But need to see consistency out of both GMAC and Faison the rest of the way in camp. Heupel doesn't let us see a whole lot, but today got to see a couple of throws from each, some highs, some lows, but that's expected. It's practice. We're not out in the game, but one thing that Heupel had said last week that I think still carries a lot of weight for all the guys, not just quarterback, don't want to make the same mistake twice and don't want to see the same mistakes continuing on throughout the rest of the camp. So hoping that both GMAC and Faison can work on their specific things that they need to do in order to establish themselves at quarterback one. When we come back on the other side, I gave my top 25 teams in college football yesterday. On three must have heard it and decided to release their own today. And we'll react to that, where Tennessee lines up and where the rest of the country does as well. Stay right here. It's the Playbook on Fan Run Radio.
For the fans, by the fans, this is Fan Run Radio, Knoxville.
Are you ready for the start of a new season? Maybe looking for your team to go on a tournament run? Get game day ready with Crumble. Head on over to your nearest location and pick up 12 pre-selected cookies plus exclusive toppers. When you're looking for dessert options, there's no question about who you should call on. Our listeners already know. Last year, the Dubai chocolate was a home run, along with the brownie batter. Oreo crumb was another crowd favorite. What new flavor will set the standard this season? If you're in the Knoxville area, there are 3 locations ready to serve you: Clinton Highway, Parkside Drive, and Maryville. Download the Crumble app to build your best lineup and vote on the best combos. You can even put your bid in to request a new flavor. Order in the app and slide on over to your nearest location. Tell them Fan Run sent you, and as always, it's for the fans, by the fans. Don't miss the cookies.
White Claw is taking hard seltzer to new heights with White Claw Surge. At 8% alcohol, White Claw Surge is a stronger wave of refreshment that doesn't compromise on taste. Available in 4 bold waves of flavor like ripe blackberry, citrusy blood orange, zesty natural lime, and tart cranberry. Check out your favorite retailer in-store and online for the White Claw Surge Variety 12-pack and 16-ounce single-serve cans. White Claw Surge. Please drink responsibly.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jacob Wilco at Knoxville Smiles. Have you ever wanted to improve the look of your smile? We know firsthand what the power of a great smile means to a person's confidence and health. Our team of doctors can provide you with an array of options for helping you achieve your cosmetic goals. From simply moving teeth into a better position, to reversible cosmetic bonding, to full mouth implant-supported dentures. It is our goal to help patients feel good about their appearance while achieving optimal health. Want to learn more? Call us at 865-539-1776 to schedule an evaluation or visit us online at knoxvillesmiles.com.
Running a business, coaching a team, planning your next big event, you need more than just gear. You need SM Athletics and Logo Solutions. Custom uniforms, branded apparel, promotional products, done right, done fast, and built to show off your brand with pride. From local businesses to high schools to major universities, SM Athletics is trusted by winners. Get real service, get real quality, get noticed. SM Athletics and Logo Solutions, where your brand comes to life.
Visit smathletics.com and let's build something great together.
Fan Run Radio, the flagship station for Tennessee fans.
This ain't no wishy-washy, limp-wristed, kale-eating, half-ass sports radio station.
We're your in-your-face, truth-telling, say it loud, flag-waving, face-painting, hardcore, bring the noise, causing a ruckus, don't give a damn sports station.
Sports talk that doesn't just hang up and listen.
For the fans. This is Fan Run Radio.
Get some.
All right, back here on the Playbook. Coming up in 29 minutes, it's The Drive with Russell Smith, Bob Baskerville, the Bear, and Walker Smith. They'll take you the rest of the way here on Fan Run Radio from 3 to 6. And then following them up, it's Overtime with Garrett Armbrust and Caleb DeBus. That's from 6 to 8. They'll wind out your Tuesday here in K-Town, but we still have some time together, so let's enjoy it. Let's take a look at On3's top 25 teams in college football heading into the 2026 season, as was released today, as we're just under 4 weeks away from Tennessee football kicking things off against Furman inside Neyland Stadium. On3 polled 11 of its college football writers for their preseason top 25 and released it earlier today. Tennessee football came in at number 20 in the preseason poll. The Vols are one of 9 SEC teams featured, coming in behind number 3 Texas, number 4 Georgia, number 8 Oklahoma, number 9 Ole Miss, number 10 Texas A&M, number 12 LSU, and number 14 Alabama. Alabama already the lowest point they've ever been in the coaches poll. They were slated at number 11, which is the lowest they've been since 2007?
2008?
2008,
they were like 24th against Clemson.
Saban's,
yeah,
like,
2008.
They're Saban's second year because
Yeah.
then they killed
went
Clemson.
7-5 or whatever in his first year.
Yeah. I think it's 17 years since they've been that. Anyway, so 14 in this On3 poll. Tennessee is ahead of number 25, Florida, and that was a Gators team that I had knocked out of my top 25 as we went down the list yesterday. But Tennessee came in at number 18 in the preseason USA Today coaches poll last week, and the Vols spent nearly the entirety of the 2026 season in the coaches poll until they lost to Illinois in the Music City Bowl. Next week on Monday, we'll get the AP poll. That should be fun. And that's usually the poll that we look back at the end of the season and say, how the hell was this team number 10 or how the hell was this team number 9? I gave my 2 candidates yesterday of groups that I think could be those top 10 teams that bust out, and that's Ole Miss and Oklahoma just based on their variables. But, I mean, who knows? Last year, everyone thought Clemson, Penn State, and LSU were the best teams in the country, and none of which played in a bowl game of any significance. And 2 of them fired their coaches, and one of them this year is on the hot seat because of it.
Yeah.
So Tennessee at number 20, I think it's a very fair spot. I had the Volunteers at number 21. And, you know, I think the consensus on the top 18 teams are pretty much there. But then when you go 19 to 25, there are a lot of different options. I just base my top 25 off of what I see and what I know. And that's why I have teams like California and Oklahoma State in that mix. I think quarterback play is so important. And I really like what the Golden Bears did in the offseason with all their additions. We talked about that yesterday. Oklahoma State, I'm a big Eric Morris guy. He's proven me every place he's been he can win. So I think sometimes with these larger national polls, when you get a lot of different guys in the mix, and I'm not saying the On3 people don't know what they're talking about, but I think you get a lot more brands and bigger name schools. Like Iowa was a cut for me. Florida was a cut for me, but they make the list on this specific roster of teams. And I think, at least in Tennessee's case, a top 20 group is more than respectable, just one spot above where I have them. And I think a lot of that is based on everything else besides quarterback. And I know you mentioned it, Brett, in hour one. You don't really want to rehash it. But if Tennessee has a Sam Leavitt or a Ty Simpson at quarterback right now, this is probably a consensus top 10 team. And that could be frustrating to some.
Or 20 without, or an 18 and some, without it,
Yeah.
That's the crazy thing about it.
Yeah. We'll get to those comments here in a second. We appreciate those on the YouTube chat using that. But guys, your opinion here on Tennessee coming in at number 20. Connor, any thoughts on it?
I think that's about maybe their ceiling, just kind of entering the season. I kind of look at the couple teams behind them, like Utah and like Louisville, and you could maybe slot them even further, and maybe even have them as low as 22. Honestly, if you told me that they weren't ranked, I'd say, quarterback play. So and I wouldn't be surprised. So, I think it's fair. I think it's about their ceiling right now. Because, and again, all the uncertainty is the quarterback play. You mentioned the quarterback play. It's still a quarterback-driven league and sport. So until Tennessee asserts some consistency and some quality with the quarterback play, it's hard to see them anywhere higher than 20. I think you're both right that they would be a consensus top 10 team with a Leavitt, or they were also talking about other quarterbacks in the portal. But the fact is that this is what they have. They got talent there everywhere else except for the most important position in the sport in quarterback. So fair. The ceiling is right about 20. Wouldn't have them any higher than that. And arguably, you could have even a couple more teams in this poll that are behind them, ahead of them.
Brett, anything from you on it?
I mean, like I said, with your poll in Tennessee, I mean, this is, you look at the poll that ended last year, end of the season, this is the 7-5, 8-4 territory, and that's kind of where we think Tennessee's going to end up. I know they don't do this in preseason poll. They look at what's on the roster. I personally think Tennessee would be just outside the top 25. I just think the questions at quarterback and then the questions at D-line, arguably the two most important positions on the field, you're weakest at. And with this schedule and things like that, it's very worrisome. So, but I mean, I'm ultimately fine with it. I just want us to beat a quality team this year. I think that's you've got to find a way to beat one of these teams. Maybe you're not supposed to. I don't consider, Georgia Tech on paper on the road, night game. I mean, maybe you consider that a decent, quality win, but the type of season they're going to have, I don't see it. But yeah, I think it's fair, but I mean, I think they would be just outside my top 25 just with, on paper it looks good on defense, but that's a lot of change and a new coordinator. So, but yeah, I think I'm ultimately fine with it.
I think to your point, you look at, when you define a quality team, I mean, it is an Alabama, an LSU, an A&M, and a Texas, all four teams that they play. And I think you're right. I mean, look, maybe we keep talking about, maybe Faison's going to steal one of those games that he's not supposed to, but he also might lose a game that he should win against like a South Carolina or an Arkansas or wherever, right? So I mean, steal one, give one, but I mean, you need something. You need a quality win against one of those four aforementioned teams that are ahead of you currently in the rankings to really feel good about not just where the team's going, but also where Heupel is entering that year that everybody keeps talking about, 2027. This is the year. But if he doesn't beat anybody with the team that is still pretty talented everywhere else, but he still doesn't beat those at least one of those four teams, it's a concern. We talked about it a little bit last week, but he's got to win one of those four games.
I'm looking at a couple of different reference points here. So on threes, way too early CFB top 25 that was released after the season ended. This was back in either January or February.
Yeah.
A similar collection of teams. Georgia was at 2 on the new preseason top 25. They're at 4. Notre Dame was at 4. They're now at 5. I think the team that took the biggest step back
had to be Texas Tech, right?
Well, Texas Tech was 7. They went to 11.
Oh, okay.
Virginia Tech was at 23. They're not on this list. Florida was 24. They're at 25 here. Arizona was in the top 25. They're not listed here. Utah was at 16. They're now at 21. Tennessee was at 20. They remain at 20. SMU was not listed, and now they're 19. So that's just a reference point from last year. And then also I've got the AP Top 25 poll from last season pulled up. Texas, Penn State, Ohio State, Clemson, Georgia. 3 of those teams did not make the college football playoff. 2 of those teams had more than 5 losses. And then you had Notre Dame, Oregon, Alabama, LSU, Miami. I'd say that was a pretty fair group outside of LSU.
Yeah.
This one is really interesting. 11 through 15 is Arizona State, Illinois, South Carolina, Michigan, Florida.
All flops.
That's all flops.
Well, Michigan, I guess, wasn't terrible.
And I remember
they were like top 20, like 21, 25 though.
I think last year I had Illinois at 11 because they returned Luke Altmaier. They returned a lot of players last season. Obviously, they did not have the year they anticipated. Arizona State, Sam Leavitt got hurt. That messed things up. But Jordan Tyson was still one of the best wide receivers in the country. 16 through 20 was SMU, Kansas State. Man, Kansas State was one of the biggest flops in the country last year. Avery Johnson. That
sorry because that fight, man.
Well, the
brother-dad fight.
Honestly, it was never the same for them after Dylan Edwards muffed the punt to begin the season.
Yeah.
But it goes Kansas State, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, Indiana. So 3 of those teams made the CFP.
And one was the national champion.
Yeah. And then 21 through 25 was Ole Miss, Iowa State, Iowa State was one of the biggest paper dragons all year.
Ole Miss made the playoff.
Ole Miss made the playoff. Texas Tech was 23. Tennessee was 24. Boise State was 25. And we quickly learned about Boise State's season when they took on Alex Golish and company to begin the year on that Thursday against South Florida.
And how bad they are without Ascigenti.
Yeah. But they did have a lot of returning play. Like Maddox Matson was one of them. You know,
a lot of people have Boise in the playoff this year.
Well, here's the thing.
Here's the thing. I thought I saw one today, maybe.
Yeah. Here's the thing with the group of 5. And no disrespect to a lot of people that give their predictions on it, but I don't think enough people watch the group of 5 to really give an opinion on it. Boise State is often thrown on there because it's Boise State. When you think of Boise State,
that's just name brand recognition right there.
It really is. I think, I think Tulane's got a good group this year, even despite not having John Summerall. Yeah. I think Memphis is an intriguing candidate with, Marcus Stokes and Aaron Nolan battling it out, but they've also got a lot of former Power 5 transfers on that team. I think Charles Huff's an incredible coach.
UNLV with Dan Mullen.
Yeah, my only thing with UNLV is that quarterback situation.
Look, I'm just saying it was out by a half step, so it wouldn't count it, but I'm just saying it looks like Mullen maybe taught Alex Orji how to actually throw the ball beyond the line of scrimmage.
It's
possible.
You can't put your eggs
It's possible.
Jackson Arnold and Orji.
I know.
Well, apparently,
it's yeah.
Apparently, I was talking to a UNLV guy a couple of days ago. Apparently, Arnold is in contention to get beat out by Orji, which is just a drastic difference from what you had anticipated when he signed there.
Hey, look, if Orji can throw the ball even 10 yards past the line of scrimmage, that's a huge improvement.
Orji's just a gimmick guy, in my opinion. Now, he began his career, for those that don't know, he was at Michigan originally and played a couple of games there, was at UNLV last season, got hurt in the first game of the year, diving into the end zone. And then it was Anthony Calandria who started the rest of the way, and the Running Rebels had a good quarterback with him. He's now at Nebraska. But again, going to the group of 5 point, I just don't think they're enough. And it's not a diss in anyone. I'm just saying generally, I don't think a lot of people are head over heels for group of 5 football. Obviously, I like it a lot. Brett Garrett likes it a lot.
Yeah, he does.
So we follow it. But I think a lot of people will just throw Boise State out there because, it's Boise State. They won the Fiesta Bowls and they were in the college football playoff a couple of years ago. And I think my team last year was UNLV to make the playoff. Obviously, things didn't go that way. But I think the group of 5's still wide open. I
thought North Texas was your team.
This year? Well, I did
last year.
Well, preseason I had UNLV.
Yeah.
But as the season went on, I was a big North Texas guy.
You were, yeah.
And I got in a lot of bickers and fights about that.
They were right there. That would have been fun.
You don't have to tell me that.
Yeah.
You don't have to tell me that. We got 2 group of 5 teams last year, though, Brett. Everyone was excited.
Shout out to Duke winning the ACC.
Yeah.
Leaving 2 group of 5 schools in,
Well, yeah, that's
crazy.
That's why, if anyone differs on like having Cal in my top 25, I'll say who won the ACC last year. The conference is wide open.
I think that's more just about the conference being too large and the tiebreakers. But again, that's the different problem to sort out.
Well, 6 teams in the conference this year will not play as many games as the other 12 teams.
I can't believe they can't get it right.
Yeah. Real quick, looking at the YouTube chat, David Speaks says, I think Gordon, Morris, and Baker have to protect or be productive for GMAC or Faison to thrive in the offense. Bishop cannot play every snap. We need those 3 to combine for at least 1,200 yards, 12 touchdowns to win 9 games. Am I wrong? Well, I think Bishop could get 1,200 on his own if you really wanted it from him. In any Heupel system, you use 3 running backs. So I think all of those guys will be utilized. I like Javen Gordon a lot coming over from Tulane. He was a freshman last year, ran for 550 yards and had a couple of receptions as well. I think that's a good running back too. But Dwayne Morris and Justin Baker, which one of those establishes themselves throughout the course of the season, I think is the most interesting running back dynamic. David Speaks says he doesn't expect Bishop to rush for 1,500 yards, but he also agrees that 1,200 is likely. Last year's backup running backs combined for about 1,100 yards, 15 touchdowns for an 8-win team. Excuse me, I'm having a tough time getting through these. David Speaks also says there's only about 6 to 8 legit G5 schools in our G5 conversation that could play in the Big 12 as a mid-level team or upset a decent Power 4 school. It might just be a homer take, but I think Memphis should have been a Big 12 team. Like you go back to when they were
what
making
was the story with that? They
They got
to buy. There was something weird about that, wasn't there?
They got an offer from the.
They didn't accept it.
Either I think it was the Pac-12 that offered Tennessee or had offered Memphis,
Yeah,
but the money wasn't
that.
right.
Yeah, it was weird because we were shocked they turned it down. Right?
Yeah, the money wasn't right, and they had just hired a new athletic director. He came over from Virginia, and he was like, "I'm not going to put this school in the way I view it in a bad light by accepting something like that." But like, if you go back, remember when SMU played Memphis in 2019? And
that was an electric game.
Oh, it was incredible. College game day was on Beale Street.
Oh yeah.
I was there from 4 a.m. till.
They actually had Fowler and Herbstreit on site calling the game.
Oh yeah, that game was incredible.
It was back and forth. I mean,
that game was incredible.
Was it 52-45, something like that?
High scoring game. But that showcased what Memphis could be at its peak. They just renovated the stadium as well. I think Memphis, and it might be a homer take, but I think Memphis deserves to have an opportunity to, be a Big 12 group. I think there are other schools that are in consider. North Texas, I could maybe see it being a Texas school. They obviously have a good pool of players and nice funding. But I think there are a lot of G5 schools that will be intriguing this year. Hawaii's another one too. Now, if Hawaii can't suffer any quarterback injuries, one of their guys just got up and left last week.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's serious. And their backup options, a transfer from Virginia who's got no experience. It's got a cool name, though. I can't remember off the top of my head. But Micah Alhado is a great quarterback. He was at Bishop Gorman High School and had a great freshman season last year. There's some fun G5 teams, I promise you. And right now, like, nothing sounds more appetizing to me than University of Louisiana Lafayette taking on, like, Western Kentucky on a Wednesday. I would sit in front of my couch.
I have no problem with it, but they just don't need to be in the picture for the going for a national championship and taking away like a Texas or a Notre Dame that are 100 times. I mean, not 100
right.
times, but like when you tell me it's 12, but I don't need. Again, this is another thing I don't need to get into and rehash. I don't need to rehash this.
It
stuff.
Needs to be like the old days, 15 years ago, when it was like Gary Patterson and Chris Peterson were both in like the Fiesta Bowl, right? Like, and there was a legitimate argument instead of just handing them the spots. I think that's
a
fundamental issue.
Championship. Just have their own.
12-team
playoff or something,
Yeah.
which would be fun too. I mean, you could have really good football.
No, we're not doing
James
that.
Madison is a 1 seed. I mean,
We're not
that'd been
doing
fun.
that.
18 playoff.
No.
18.
Real quick, Coastal Vol says, has Hype been running receivers out wide at practice? He's moved away from that the last couple of years. They've just been doing normal wide receiver routes from what we've seen. Nothing's been specific out wide. We haven't watched any of the 11-on-11 stuff. So just normal routes, just trying to go through the intermediate stuff, and they did some red zone stuff today. But 11-on-11, he's not letting us see that yet. When we come back on the other side, we'll wrap things up. Stay right here. It's Playbook, Fan Run Radio.
Congratulations. You found sports radio that doesn't suck. This is Fan Run Radio, Knoxville.
Citizens National Bank.
Life is more fun with a Good Life account, offering extra benefits, including bank travel. Experience the trip of a lifetime to Ireland. Explore rolling green hills, historic castles, and charming villages across the Emerald Isle. Get in on the fun. Call 865-429-7935 today.
Citizens National Bank. Banking never felt so good.
Member FDIC.
Barley's has live music on weekends, general team trivia on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m., and now live sports trivia courtesy of the Knoxville Trivia Guys every Thursday night upstairs. The game starts at 7 p.m. and is free to play for everyone, so head on down to the Old City and show off your sports knowledge and win gift cards to Barley's. Use those gift cards to buy some delicious food and drinks, and you can take it all in with their wide selection of TVs and indoor projectors. Barley's Tap Room and Pizzeria.
All right, wrapping things up on a Tuesday. Great stuff today. We appreciate you hanging out with us as fall camp rolls on for Tennessee football. We'll be back there tomorrow to see our 2 segments of camp. But I'm not complaining about it. Any action is action. I also saw the kickers doing some work today. They've got one of the small goalposts, like where it's like really, really thin,
narrow, yeah,
and they're narrow, I should say, and they're trying to stick it in the middle. I didn't get to see Ranvier, but I saw Tuberville put a couple up. But
yeah,
nice.
I know. I want to see some swag from my kickers. That's one thing I love about Cooper Ranvier. Excuse me, Cooper Ranvier.
Yeah,
Ranvier. Yep.
Ranvier.
Yes.
For all my people out there, it's Cooper Ranvier, not Ranvier. So when you're at the tailgate, a G10 update for you. I got a G10 update.
Okay.
Apparently, they're not letting you park on the left side of G10. So if you enter the gate, you cannot park on the far left side. They got it closed off. So
can they just knock that thing down already?
That's the
Who
G10
cares?
update. Well, apparently they can't knock it down yet because they've got to they've got to finish the construction on the new gate on that side. They're calling it the pork chop, apparently.
Wow. Okay.
I just was overhearing some speak in the hallway, but they're not letting you park on the left side of G10, but they can't tear it down until they're done with the pork chop, which is like the new entrance for that side of the stadium. So for my G10 folks out there that would have been tailgating and talking about Cooper Ranvier, it's actually Cooper Ranvier. So now you can be the smart one at the tailgate. So I guess that's my G10 update. David speaks, Coastal Carolina, Liberty, Fresno State, and App State used to be competitive G5s. They did, but, a lot of times these schools lose their coaches. And for App State, that was Eli Drinkwitz. For Coastal, that was, I think Coastal's guy actually went to Liberty and Jamie Chadwell.
Mm-hmm.
But, I think that's the thing with these G5s. You got to hit the next coach. And I think the teams that have done that have sustained success. I think Tulane's done a great job with that, being a G5 school, hitting on the right coaches. Memphis has done a good job as well. Mike Norvell gets the job at Florida State. Silverfield now gets the job at Arkansas. I think Charles Huff is the next in line to get
the guy that just went to Oklahoma State.
Eric Morris. Yeah, Eric Morris was a North Texas guy, and he was, that was a banger of a hire. But I think
he could get another. He could go if he does well at Oklahoma State. He can take a step up from there.
I think my first call, if I were any team in college football, my first call would be Kenny Dillingham at Arizona State. I think he is the real deal. And if I were Tennessee, that would be my first phone call. I'm not saying Josh Heupel's getting fired. I'm just saying Kenny Dillingham would be my first call, and I wouldn't let him get off the line until he says it.
Just fax in the contract and have him FaceTime you as he signs.
It's kind of like people want shirts, the college basketball guy at St.
Josh
Louis.
Shirts.
I think Bob loves him and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
When Barnes' days are numbered, so you're already looking around like who could be in and hit the ground running, and stuff like that.
I'd say Josh Shirts ends up being the next guy for Tennessee if they don't hire from within. And I think with Gainey going to NC State, that pretty much nipped that in the bud.
And real quick, I was telling Connor about this, but NCAA March Madness on Twitter or X are doing this. They're doing a bracket of all-century 3v3 teams for colleges. Tennessee's an 8 seed with Connect, Grant, and Chris Lofton as our 3 players for the 3 21st century. And we're facing Creighton right now as the 9 seed, who has Kalkbrenner, Corver, and McDermott.
We're cooked. We're out
We're
first
cooked.
round. We're out first round.
Right now, the votes are 51% to 49%, but it's the high, the voting is pretty high on that.
Like Kyle Corver?
Kyle Corver.
Oh, we're cooked. Come on, man.
We got 3 SEC players in years.
Ryan Kalkbrenner down low.
3v3, okay, Blue Jay over there.
I'm not a Blue Jay.
Oh, my God.
Kyle Corver's one of the best shooters.
They don't have anybody can deal with. Kyle Corver can't do anything.
Kyle Corver's one of the best shooters of all time.
It's 3v3.
Doug McDermott, that's a March Madness legend.
Connects a bucket.
I know. I'm sorry if that offends anyone. I don't know.
But we would face Villanova, who's Josh Hart, Brunson, and Scotty Reynolds.
The New York Knicks, basically.
Yeah, they're facing Ja.
Murray State's in there.
They're the 16 seed.
Well, all right, Ja.
Isaiah Cannon. I remember him from the
Isaiah Cannon. That's a small team.
Campaign.
That's a small
Campaign, the lefty.
Yeah, he's a Lausanne kid. Shout out Memphis.
All pro.
Yeah.
All those guys.
All right, we're a little bit over time. We appreciate you listening along with us. Brett Hollander, Connor Whitney, William Pattison. Coming up on the other side, it's The Drive.
Can't get enough Fan Run Radio? Download the free Fan Run app and take the best Tennessee sports conversations with you wherever you go.
We really need to get some branded stuff. Shirts, hats, promo items, something professional.
I mean, we could just find a website and order a bunch of it ourselves.
You could, but you're taking a big risk. You don't know the quality, the fit, the timeline. It's a roll of the dice.
Yeah, I guess, but isn't that how everyone does it now?
Not the ones who actually care about how their brand looks. Look, if we're putting our name on it, it needs to be done right. We need SM Athletics.
SM Athletics?
Yeah, they specialize in working with businesses like ours. Apparel, hats, promo gear, but real, customized stuff. They actually care if it turns out right.
Probably a lot better than getting stuck with 100 t-shirts with crooked logos.
Exactly. Plus, they'll walk you through everything. Sizing, colors, material, so it matches the image we're trying to build.
Makes sense. What's the name again?
SM Athletics. Trust me, if you want to look like a real company, not a flea market stand, this is the move. If you're serious about your brand, work with people who are serious about getting it right. SM Athletics.
Barley's has live music on weekends, general team trivia on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m., and now live sports trivia courtesy of the Knoxville Trivia Guys every Thursday night upstairs. The game starts at 7 p.m. and is free to play for everyone, so head on down to the Old City and show off your sports knowledge and win gift cards to Barley's. Use those gift cards to buy some delicious food and drinks, and you can take it all in with their wide selection of TVs and indoor projectors. Barley's Tap Room and Pizzeria.
A brand built in Tennessee and born from the love of the game.